President Xi recognizes that a nuclear North Korea is a grave threat to China.
You guys Donald Trump supporters now?
I'd also like to thank President Trump and the United States government for the help that they provided as well.
I'm a lifelong Republican, but I just can't do it.
I can't vote for Roy Moore.
Obviously, I've made a few people mad. I'm the only one that can unite Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to be united that kind of way, but welcome to Newsmax Now. We're going to be talking about that during the course of the show. I'm Bill Tucker. Co-hosting with me tonight, of course, is the great Tom Borelli Ph.D., conservative activist, contributor to the Conservative Review, and a Newsmax insider. Tom, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Great to be back.
Boy, we have got some stuff to talk. We've got drama. We've got election drama down south. Things are getting crazy down that way. It's interesting to me how the Republican Party is really desperately trying to distance itself from this candidate. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Not at this rate, actually. The rate of change is really amazing, as every major Republican, one after one, is trying to distance themselves from Mr. Moore. Of course, a lot of them were the establishment anyway. They wanted nothing to do with him in the first place. But he's not making it easy for him at all.
No, he's not. And in fact, Roy Moore leads the polls, depending on which poll you believe, in the race for the Senate seat down in Alabama. The Republican Party desperately trying to wash their hands of him. And depending on what poll you believe, Moore is either ahead by 6 percentage points or he's behind by 12. We're going to talk about that. President Trump holds a news conference this afternoon in the White House where he announced that a strong, confident America equals a respected America in the global community. And the UCLA basketball players who were facing 3 to 10 years in a Chinese prison are back home on American soil, and they've expressed their gratitude to the president while apologizing for their actions reflecting badly on the United States. Our guest tonight, it's a great lineup. Andy McCarthy, Suzanne Summers, Bill O'Reilly, Michael Savage, all of that, and you. You can get on this. Call us. Call us at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Okay, let's welcome in. Joining us now is former federal prosecutor, contributing editor to the National Review, a senior fellow at the National Review Institute, and author of Faithless Execution, Andy McCarthy. Andy, good to see you.
It's good to be with both of you.
Now, we're going to start with Moore. There's a lot to get to, but let's start with Moore. And in particular, everybody agrees, and this I'm calling on your prosecutorial background, there's no criminality in any of this stuff. It's all the statutes of limitations have expired. There is certainly a taint of
just have to stay focused.
Icky factor. There's an icky factor to it, if you will, Andy. Have you ever seen I've seen a lot of dirty political races in my lifetime. Have you ever seen anything like this? And what's your take about what's going on down in Alabama?
Well, I wouldn't agree, Bill, that there's no criminality. I'd say there's no prosecutable criminality.
Okay, fine.
You know, the statute of limitations is a defense, particularly discussing this on Twitter. I wasn't a Moore guy to begin with. I wasn't a fan. And, you know, the suggestion is that somehow, even if you weren't a fan, you're supposed to like him better after all this stuff, which you know, is kind of beyond me. I think you have to make up your mind that, you know, it's like anything else in life, you know. You hear both sides, you factor in whatever bias there is, the fact that these are kind of stale claims, and then you decide what you think of them. And, you know, I don't think he's explained himself well. I think some of the things where they've attacked the women for making stuff up turned out not to be true, which is always a bad thing in a debate like this. So, you know, I'd love to see him withdraw and do it in a timely way. I'd like to see, you know, Strange withdraw if that was what it took to get out of this mess. Not Strange, the fellow who has the seat now. I guess that is Strange, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But you know, you know, I think he's not. I don't see him winning. And even if you believe the 6-point poll, which I don't, I think his support is dropping precipitously, and that's not going to get better in the next couple of weeks. So, you know, hopefully he does the right thing, but it doesn't sound like he's gonna.
Andy, as a former federal prosecutor, as I understand it, all these charges go back 40 years and nothing more recent. if he's a sexual predator, wouldn't you expect to find more recent action?
Not necessarily. It may have been a phase of his life that he went through. All the facts on these things are different, Tom. Yeah. What strikes me is that the allegations are not spread out over time. They're all, relatively contemporaneous. And it suggests to me that it was a phase of his life that he went through, assuming that this happened. And I should underscore here that, if somebody was talking about carting him away and arresting him on the evidence that we have, I would be the first one objecting to it. But, holding public office is not about having your liberty stripped away. It's a privilege that involves a public trust. And everybody has to convince you that they're fit for the office. It's not the same thing as having your liberty taken away.
You're right. There's a different standard involved here. Just in full disclosure, and I told this to Tom beforehand, I've never been a big Moore fan either. So, but this is not a guy, Andy, that strikes me as somebody who's going to back down. I mean, this is a guy who, as Chief Justice of the court in Alabama, stood up to the Supreme Court of the United States and basically said you can take your ruling and stick it wherever you want to stick it, but it isn't going to work down here in Alabama. So he's not a guy that's going to back down. I have a feeling he's going to lose this seat for Republicans. Can Republicans, I think at this point, Republicans would be happy to take the loss, really, honestly, but is that bad for them in terms of strategic stuff in the Senate?
Well, Bill, of course it's bad. And you have to weigh, if you're convinced that the guy is or was a pedophile, then, you take your lumps, because I don't think you can justify the behavior. But, the brave talk about how, it's one seat, it won't make that much difference. I think I just heard very shortly before we went on that isn't Johnson saying he's not going to sign off on the
Ron Johnson
tax?
out of Wisconsin, right.
Yeah, and I think it underscores exactly the point you're getting to, which is Trump and the Republicans have a very small margin for losing people to get any legislation through whatsoever in Congress. So, I can't be cavalier about the idea when you only have 52 to have it down to 51, especially when Trump has made enemies out of, McCain and Corker and all these other guys. He doesn't have a great opportunity to push stuff through, and losing a reliable seat is not a small thing in this situation.
I'm sorry, Tom, I'm going to jump in on this for a second, because I understand we went out and did we go out and take some polls on the street, if you will? We asked New Yorkers.
That's fair.
We went and asked New Yorkers about Roy Moore. Probably turned out about like you think it's going to turn out. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Yes.
And why is that?
I think that a few people have come forward, and there seems to be a lot of talk about it, that people knew what was going on, and until he adequately answers the question, he should drop out. Yeah.
I don't know. First investigate before you accuse, because we're all human life, so it's important.
Oh, definitely. I think that it's wonderful that the Me Too movement has started, and sexually abused women have for so long not been taken seriously and been afraid that they're going to lose their jobs, or, things will happen to them.
If it's true, then obviously I think it's important that maybe he does step down, because you can't have people representing the public who do things that are immoral.
I personally don't know, because I'm not from here, but I believe there's no smoke without fire, but you're kind of innocent until you're proven guilty.
Actually, that turned out more balanced than I thought it was going to turn out. Very interesting. Notice it was the Brit who reminded us that you are innocent until you're proven guilty. Which reminds me, really quickly, go to the polls. You can go to newsmax.com/polls and vote in the poll if you tell us whether you think he should, in fact, quit his bid for the Senate. Tom, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Andy, if you were on his campaign team, how would you advise him to deal with the media and the controversy?
Well, it depends on whether he did it or not.
Yeah.
Just to be perfectly honest, I mean, if I were, let's say I were his defense lawyer, because I'm not a political guy, so that kind of advice is not in my bailiwick. But if I were his lawyer, how you would go about his defense, and everybody's entitled to a defense even if they're guilty, right? That's the way our system works. It matters whether you think he did it or not. Now, a lot of lawyers say they won't ever ask that question, but they all have to form an opinion. And if you think he did it, then what you hammer is the weakness of the evidence. And if you think he didn't do it, then you get him out in front of a camera and try to make him as compelling as you can. In politics, I think that's what people want. I always thought as a prosecutor, it was, all defendants have a right not to plead guilty. But at least in most big cases, the jury always wants the defendant to get up there on the stand, get under oath, look him in the eye and say he didn't do it. And when they don't, I think in politics, that's really crippling.
Yep. We have 2 minutes left. I'm going to change the topic really quickly here. Because today, against all odds, there was a representative, Steve Cohen, from Democrat from Tennessee, who introduced articles of impeachment in the House today. These are clearly going to go nowhere fast, because he told the House Judiciary Committee he wanted immediate hearings. It's him and 5, he claims, there's no names, by the way, I haven't seen names. He claims to have 5 co-sponsors, Andy. Do the Democrats think there's some kind of comfort in proving that they are the party of complete, utter extremity, even when there are a few in the Democratic Party who keep saying, no, let's don't talk about impeachment, let's get down to other stuff?
Well, I think 2 things about it in terms of a straw in the wind effect. As I understand it, and I'm not sure these numbers are exactly right, but they're generally right. There's about 32 seats that are held by Republicans that Trump, in districts that Trump either didn't win or won barely the last time around. And the Democrats need 28 of them, or thereabout, 2/3 supermajority in the Senate to actually remove someone from power. But I'm pretty convinced that, barring something very extraordinary happening in the next year, if the Democrats take over the House, which is a possibility, I'm not saying it's a probability, but it's at least realistic, he's going to be impeached.
Interesting.
I mean, it's going to happen. And
the media would love it.
Yeah, no, Tom's right.
Impeachment's not law, it's politics.
Yeah.
So, and they can impeach on what they decide to impeach on.
We're going to leave it on that because they're raising the music up. Thank you so much, Andy. When we come back, we're going to have the beautiful Suzanne Somers. She's an actress, and she's talking about a love story. So we're taking a break from politics. We'll be right back.